Good morning, Year 8. This is Mr. McLeod speaking. Shown on the board are your 6 starter questions. Please complete these questions in your books. Pause the video for 10 minutes and then we'll go through the answers afterwards. So here are your answers to the starting activity. Please mark in green pen and give yourself a score out of 6. For question D, you could have also had 0.9. That would also be correct. Did anyone get those all right? So, square roots and building on the skills we've learnt in the past couple of lessons. So the first I do is the square root of 25, and we need to evaluate the square root of 25, which basically means to calculate. So, square root of 25, remember this means that we need to find the number we times by itself to get 25. So I know 5 times 5 makes 25, so the square root of 25 is 5. Now for the second one, evaluate square root of 225. Again, I need to find the number that times is by itself to make 225. And I know 15 times 15 makes 225. So the square root of 225 must be 15. Please pause the video here, copy down both the I do's and then go through the we do's independently. We'll go through the answers afterwards. Pause the video now, please. Okay, so for the we do's. First one, square root of 16. Remember, I need to find the number that times is by itself to make 16. Now 4 times 4 makes 16. So square root 16 is 4. And 121, square root of 121. Well, 11 times 11, or 11 squared, makes 121. So the square root of 121 is 11. Give yourself a tick and green pen if you got those right. Copy them down if you didn't get them right or you made any mistakes. Okay, so a couple more examples. Evaluate square root of 100. Well, remember, 10 times 10 makes 100, or 10 squared makes 100. So the square root of 100, we work backwards, is 10. For the second I do, 250,000 this number is. Well, you have to be a bit careful with this number. Look at the first 2 digits, 25. What number times by itself makes 25? Well, I know the answer to that is 5. 5 times 5 makes 25. So we know it's going to start with a 5. Now we need to think how many zeros is this going to have to make this number here. Well, this number has 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So I know that my number is going to have half of that. So if you cut them in half, it's going to have 2 zeros. So we know it starts with a 5 because it starts with 25 and the square root of 25 is 5. And then we know it's going to have half the amount of zeros. So it's going to have 2 zeros. So my answer is 5 with 2 zeros, or 500. 500 squared makes 250,000. Try both the we do's now. Pause the video, try both of these. Start by looking at the first number each time, or the first 2 numbers. Think, what number times by itself makes 1? Well, I know it's 1. Think how many zeros it has. Well, our number's going to have half the amount of zeros. Try these questions for me now, please, in your books. We'll go through them in green pen afterwards. Okay, so for the first we do 10,000. Well, the first number's 1. We need to think what number times by itself makes 1. Well, 1 squared is 1, so I know my number's going to start with a 1. This has got 4 zeros, so I know my number is going to have half the amount, 2 zeros. So my number is 100 or 100. For the second one, the first two numbers are 81. What number squared makes 81? Of course, 9. So our number starts with a 9. This has 6 zeros, so my number is going to have half of that, 3 zeros. So my number is 9,000. 9,000 squared makes this number here, which is 81 million in fact. Please give yourself a tick and green pen if you got that right. I know that's quite hard, but you're doing really well if you can get that correct. So, pause the video here. There's 15 questions, so I'm going to give you 15 to 20 minutes. Work through each of these questions and write the question and the answer in your books. We'll go through the answers afterwards. So, here are the answers to the past questions we just did. Please mark in green pen. See if you made any mistakes, or give them a tick if they're right. If you made any mistakes, see if you can spot where you went wrong or what you did wrong. I want to know if anyone got 15 out of 15 on that exercise. And for question 2, here's some more difficult square root examples. Remember what we said about looking at the first two numbers or the first number. Think what number squared makes that? What number squared makes 81? And then think about the amount of zeros it's got. Our number's going to have half the amount of zeros. Please pause the video here for 15 minutes and allow students to work through these questions. So, here are your answers to question 2. Please mark in green pen, and I'll be super impressed if anyone got this one right. So, going on to some more difficult examples now, you'll notice that we've got the square root and we've got a fraction underneath the square root. So we've got to learn how to deal with that. And it's quite simple really. This is the square root of 4 over 9, or square root of 4/9. So what we have to do is we have to find the square root of the numerator, the number on the top of the fraction, and the square root of the denominator, the number on the bottom of the fraction. So the square root of 4 is 2, so that goes on the top. And the square root of 9 is 3, so that goes on the bottom. So my answer is 2 over 3. For the bottom one, square root of 9 over 49, or 9/49. Square root of 9 is 3, so 3 goes on the top. Square root of 49 is 7, so 7 goes on the bottom. So our answer is 3 over 7. Please pause the video here, copy down both I do's and the solutions, and then work through the we do's independently. So, for the first one, 9 over 4, well, square root of 9 equals 3, so we have the 3 on the top, and square root of 4 equals 2, so we have a 2 on the bottom. You could then change that into a mixed number, but I would be happy with either of these two answers. Either of these two answers, 3 over 2, or 1 and 1/2, would be perfect, and I'll give you a tick for either one of those. So well done if you got that right. Bottom one, square root of 4 over 49. Well, square root of 4 equals 2, and square root of 49 equals 7. So you should have 2 over 7 as your answer. Okay, one last example. Here we have square root of 16 out of 25. So again, do the square root of the top number, 16. Square root of 16 equals 4. And then the square root of 25 is 5. So we have 4 on the top and 5 on the bottom. 4 over 5. Please pause the video here and try the last we do. So for the last one, square root of 25 equals 5. Square root of 16 equals 4. So you should have 5 over 4. Really well done if you followed along and you've got that right. We'll move on to some questions now. Here are your questions. There's 15 there for you to have a go at, and they're similar to the examples we've just done. Please pause the video here for as long as needed to work through these questions. We'll go through the answers afterwards. Here are your answers to those questions we just did. Please mark in green pen, and if you made any mistakes, try and spot where you went wrong and try and put it right for next time. Thank you for listening today, Year 8. You've done really well, and I'll see you again soon.